Welcome, Lights Camera Barstool. Today, we're doing, as you can see, we're doing stuff a little bit differently now. We're going to do a little review of The Boy and the Heron, the newest Miyazaki movie, me and Gooch, obviously the bigger of two anime people here. A movie that, because Miyazaki is 1,000 years old and is the biggest perfectionist on earth, takes like years and years and years to make. I was reading earlier, it took him, I think it said like a month to do like a minute of the animation or something like that. Like crazy. Like for
What?
him to direct like 1 minute, full minute of the animation at one point.
Which I was going to bring this up later in the pod, but I do think it's very funny that Miyazaki just gets like a lifetime pass on this kind of shit, and it's like now Phil Lord and Chris Miller have become absolute scapegoats for it. Where it's like overworking animators. It's like, brother, this has been going on forever. Walt Disney did it. Miyazaki still does it. Like they all do it. Like if you want great animation, you gotta put in the sweat.
I gotta tell you, Miyazaki probably way meaner than Phil Lord and Chris Miller. They're probably just like, okay, guys, can you just work the weekend maybe this week so we can hit this deadline? And Miyazaki's like, I will murder you if you do not work the 17th hour of this day. Like Phil you are Lord, fired and dead.
Phil Lord, call me when Phil Lord like basically disowns his child
for being for being bad at art, like for being like shitty at not being as good at him as animation. Like it's great. It's not like he's like shit. He like hates his son for being some like evil like psycho nut job. Like he's just not as good as him, and he just hates his ass for it.
Yeah, like his son clearly looks up to him, idolizes him, wants to do the same thing, but just isn't as good at it. Like, and he's just like,
He gets berated for it. It's fucking wild. But yeah, The Boy and the Heron. A young boy named Mahito, yearning for his mother's yearning for his mother's ventures into a world shared by the living and the dead. There, death comes to an end and life finds a new beginning. Again, long time coming. And a movie where like when we I think see the voice cast, we got super pumped up because our boy Arpat had a big starring part in it. Obviously a whole bunch of other very talented voice actors, like so much so to the point where like I read somewhere like Dan Stevens, he has a part in this movie as like parakeet number 4 or something like that. And like
I think I know which one it was.
Yeah, and he has like one speaking role, and he basically admitted to like, I took this role so that I could see the movie early. Like that's the only reason I took this. Like I know it's one role. I know I'm not really being paid. I was like, I don't care. I just want it so I can go in and see the movie early. And that's how much people respect this sort of work, and have for a while.
I mean, the dubs on people actually shocked about this dub cast, and it's like, where have you been for the other Ghibli? This is something they've always done. Just I think doesn't. Well, I guess not anymore. But John Lasseter used to handle it, like the casting on that.
Yeah, I mean, Christian Bale was on the voice dub for, and he's obviously in the voice dub for this as the father, but he's also in the voice dub for Howl's Moving Castle. He's Howl.
Like, yeah. Oh, if you get to a certain side of like TikTok, there are some very horny women who love the Howl dub, because Christian Bale really did put in the work there.
Yeah, and then you'll have other ones where it's not so much great work. Like you'll have Michael Keaton and Porco Rosso every now and then just mailing it in. That's fine.
I saw you talking about that last night on your Madden stream.
That was fun. It's such a fun ass movie to watch the dub of, because he's just like, I'm Porco Rosso. Damn it, my plane's getting shot down. And he's
reading off flashcards. He's reading off flashcards.
And then like you also have like Michael Chiklis is in voice dubs for this, like, and then like they'll be legitimately like great, really good voice roles. Like it's wild. And even like you'll see there is one where like not Miley Cyrus, a different Cyrus, maybe Noah Cyrus. Is that a person?
Oh.
Like you'll be watching him and like you'll be like, oh, what's this in this voice dub? And it's like a child actor an actor that went on is like the first role ever as a child, and they go on to be someone like huge later.
Yeah,
it's crazy. It happens all the time. But voice dub is great in this. I haven't watched the Japanese version yet, so like I'm sure it's and it's greatest as well, obviously. But there's a lot of good stuff. Like I don't know if you would consider it bad stuff, but like I guess maybe not as good as other things, at least for me. Trying to think of like where the best place to start is. I think we could just start with just generally saying what we think of it. I liked it a lot. Anything Miyazaki does that he does is great, and it is so beyond night and day when you compare his movies to Goro's, his sons. Like the last Miyazaki or Studio G movie that I saw was Earwig and the Witch, which
Uh, I think that should be taken out of Ghibli's library. I think they should do the Disney Vault thing with it. Like vault that thing away. Don't let people see that. Like
yeah,
it's so out of left field. Like it doesn't look like a Ghibli movie, doesn't sound like a Ghibli movie, doesn't really have the magic of like it is so fucking different. Like even like Tales from the Earthsea, like even though it's bad, it still feels like Ghibli. Like Earwig. I don't know what the fuck that was.
it's like it's like almost like a really shitty like GameCube cutscene movie for like from like a game studio that went out of business in 2 years, and that's like the only game they made. Like it's really bizarre to look. It's so abrasive to look at. The story is not particularly good. Like everything about that was bad. But yeah, it's just like so night and day. I think what Miyazaki can do, and it was like obviously so worth the wait. And just like I think the biggest thing you could say about everything that Miyazaki does, it's like you truly get transported to a different place, which rocks. I love getting to sit down and watch a Ghibli movie, even if it's just like a rewatch of one of the older ones or whatever. Going to see one in a theater. I think this is only like the second of his movies I've seen in a theater. It's like a rewatch of what was it? He did like they did a re-airing of I want to say it was Spirited Away that I saw in a theater. It might have
That
been My
sounds
Neighbor
right.
Totoro.
I think that was for the 20th anniversary.
Yeah, and it was just awesome. They're awesome to watch in the theater, man. Just no one could really show you a whole new world, kind of like Miyazaki does. But yeah, what about you?
Yeah, I mean, I didn't really know what to expect coming in because, like, the marketing for this movie, and he was pretty, I think, vocally upset about how they handled this because they did something weird where they didn't show anything until what was it, like a few weeks before. Like they didn't really give you any idea of what the movie would be like. So the expectations coming in was just like it's just Miyazaki. That was the selling point for it. It's Miyazaki. It's Ghibli, and it felt this might be like I don't think it's his best work. I don't even think it's in his top tier of work, but I think it does feel like maybe the most Miyazaki movie he's ever put out. Like it's so fucking personal to him. Um, Not everything works, and we'll talk about it. I think the middle act is a little jumbled and it's definitely confusing. And I do, when I talk about kids' movies, I always say it needs to be accessible to children. If you're going to make a children's movie, make sure it's accessible. And even stuff like previous works, like Mononoke is a dark movie. Like it's very serious in what it wants to tackle, but it's still like you could put that on in front of a 7-year-old and they're going to love it. This
Mm-hmm.
one, I'm not sure kids will love this. Like, it's
No,
just a lot to take in.
definitely
But
closer to like almost how Soul was with Pixar, right?
yeah, that's a great comp for it. It's like so where the animation is beautiful,
Lots of
and
similar
I
topics
think
too, like the
yeah,
in
I think
between
the
world of life and death.
themes, yeah, the themes it wants to tackle are, and it tackles them to varying degrees. I think sometimes really well, and other times, like I said, a little jumbled. Does it well. So I'm a little in between on like how I felt about this leaving the theater. Like I couldn't decide if this is amazing or if this is kind of middle of the road for him. And I think we'll figure it out. I kind of want to talk this out and figure out where I'm landing on it. Because right now
Yeah,
I have
and
it as the third best animated movie on the year.
the
Um,
and to note too, it's like doing super successful. It's
oh yeah,
112 million worldwide. It's the highest grossing original anime movie. It's Miyazaki's first movie to ever reach box office #1 in the United States or Canada.
tough look for Wish.
Yeah,
Tough look.
yeah, and again, this is something where that's like more impressive than I think people think, because like I think people that are like in the movies, like they know Miyazaki and like they know like, oh, he's really good, he's top tier, elite, whatever, blah blah blah. Like your regular Joe Schmo, like that's not a movie that they're going to die to see. They're like, oh, foreign language movie, regardless of the dub. They're like, oh, foreign language Japanese movie, animated cartoon. Like, why am I going to go watch that with my kid? I'll go watch Wish. I'll go watch whatever other animated thing from like Pixar or Disney or Imagination Studio, whatever the fuck that is, Illumination. Like they'll do whatever else, but like for it to make this much money is fucking crazy.
Yeah, it's
But yeah, we can
awesome
talk about
too. awesome that we got this making a bunch of money and Oppenheimer making a bunch of money in the same year. And I
And
really
Godzilla.
hope studios take a fucking lesson from this, in that if you put something good, like, it doesn't need to be basic shit to make money. Like, you can put challenging stuff in front of audiences. As long as it's quality, the word of mouth would be great and people will
Exactly.
gravitate towards it.
Yeah, I mean, you could throw Godzilla -1 in there
Yeah.
too, for
Yeah.
sure. Like they had extended like a full fucking month just because of how good it was or how well it was doing. Um, so to talk it out, I think we could go kind of into like what was good and bad about it. I think that the best thing I had leaving this theater, and I had some issues with you where I was like, same sort of issues as you, where I was like, I don't think this is in his like elite tier of movies, and people were like on my ass about that. They're like, oh, how is this not like 100? I'm like, it's just
I don't think
I
that's a
don't know.
crazy take at all.
No, I don't think it's up there. So I think that the best thing Miyazaki does is world building. And I think that what he does best with that is just sort of like sensory information. Like he gives you like what a movie can impress on you, right? Is like audio visual. And like he gives you the most beautiful animation you've ever seen to look at. And then he has like the best use of like sound in animated movies. Like not just soundtrack, which is also amazing. Joe Hisashi, I'm the top 0.2% of listeners for, by the way, not to brag. But like the Foley artist work. So like when someone's like stepping on a floor, it sounds like someone's stepping on a creaky floorboard. When someone's fucking like you hear a gust of wind, it sounds like a gust of wind. You hear someone cooking food, it really sounds like someone's cooking
Ugh.
food. And like just using audio visual, he compensates for like the senses that he can't directly impress on you. So like he can't with a movie you can't show someone like touch, taste, smell, but I think using those other two senses he compensates for it and makes you just like engrossed into this new world, which can be fantastic because you can do anything well with animation, which is so cool. So I think that you really just get like this crazy good sense of like magic, which is amazing. But I think that the world building is the biggest thing I step away from this. And like you could literally give this guy any world you want, any magical wizard, sci-fi, doesn't fucking matter. He could make it the most magical thing you've ever seen.
Yeah, I don't think there's a director alive or has ever been alive who's as good at like taking what's inside their heads and putting it to screen. Like, for anybody else, like, you'd be like, I don't want to hear about your fucking dream. Like, what's the movie that came out earlier that Charlie Day did? Where it's just weird off the wall
Oh,
shit and it just stinks. Like, you don't want to watch that. He does it just, you're like, I would love to hear more about your dreams, Miyazaki. Tell me about them. Even if it doesn't make any sense, which at points I was lost here, I still want to see it and hear about it. And this thing does, like you said, it's world building until the final second. Like, there's more, like, it's adding on to the world the whole way through. It really never stops once you get past the first 30 minutes. And even in the first 30 minutes, it does some fucking insane stuff. The animation, we'll talk about it. Maybe the best it's ever looked, I think, which I guess you would expect. But then again, sometimes stuff just doesn't look as good as it did a decade ago, especially in animation. This looked, holy shit, this looked great. That opening sequence when he's running through the fire and
yeah,
it's
that
like
was sick.
melting. Oh my God, gorgeous. And then like you said, we both did the dubbed. I think the dub work across the board was great, and especially we'll talk, I'm sure, a lot about it. But Robert Pattinson, holy hell, what a performance! I hope this guy voice acts for the rest of his life.
Doesn't even sound like him. It's great. You would never. I would if you didn't tell me it was Robert Pattinson. Never in a million years would I guess it was Robert Pattinson, which I think
Apparently,
is
he
a good
did
thing.
this like no problem too. He
Yeah.
showed up with. You saw the story, but if you're listening, you don't know. He showed up to the studio after having the job without really having any direction on like what to do. He just showed up with like iPhone voice memos of like the voice he was going to use. And they were like, okay, yeah, we love that. And he finished his voice work in 2 days, which is just
Mm-hmm.
crazy. And this is his first voice role ever. I can't believe it.
Crazy. I'm surprised there wasn't like a Twilight game that he did the voice for or something or video game.
Man, he did whatever the contract said and no more.
Yeah. Um, yeah, and the voice cast just to add on to that, just amazing. If you and Robert Pattinson, Karen Fukuhara, who is in a whole bunch of more stuff like recently, but The Boys, I guess, is the thing most people know her for.
Mhm.
Gemma Chan, Christian Bale, Mark Hamill, Florence Pugh, Willem Dafoe, Dave Bautista. Bautista, what a great role! That
Very
Parakeet
funny.
King.
Very funny. Very funny. And his little minions. They were
Yeah, It was so
That
funny.
came with
That was the part of this world that shouldn't make sense. Like just the parakeet kingdom of birds, and I'm just like fucking engrossed in it. I want to know more about the parakeet kingdom. It's crazy.
oh no, they were like they were so mad. They're like, my lord, my lord. Like it was like the Shrek scene. Like, they were just his
Yeah.
little minions. And Mark Hamill, he's obviously like a legendary voice actor, one of the greats. If you don't know, like he's done the Joker most famously was his
Yep.
big role in the Batman animated series, but he was as good as he's ever been. Here, that the voice he did for the Great Uncle was crazy.
Mm-hmm. Really excellent stuff. But yeah, so I think like this movie also to add on to it, I think just for the pros, I guess it tackles shit that's like very difficult for kids to understand, which is something that I think maybe some people with Miyazaki they expect everything to kind of be like My Neighbor Totoro or like kind of like goofy, kiddish,
Mm-hmm.
cute. There's definitely cute stuff in this, no question, but it's a much more complicated sort of topic, and it's based like it's semi autobiographical because it's about it takes a lot of influence from Miyazaki's childhood. Like his dad was an
Yeah.
airplane parts manufacturer during World War II. He had to evacuate into the countryside when he was young, and he based the mother based on his mom. So it's like a lot of it semi autobiographical. So like he gets to talk about stuff that he knows about, and I think that it is good for this because it does get to culminate a lot of stuff that like he talks about in his movies, which is great if this ends up actually being his last work, although he has fake retired like 5,000 different times. But maybe part of something that gave me a little fatigue in this movie is that so many of his movies take place in the same exact period. Like the same exact period of like post-war or maybe even slightly before war Japan. And like that is what he knows and what he's great at and what he's excellent at. And I would never be like, oh, don't do that because it's what he knows and what he's great at. So like but at the same time, maybe a little bit of fatigue on that hurt a little bit. And maybe I don't know how you do that differently, but that's something I think it weighed on me a little bit. And I think the story just didn't have quite the same juice
Mm-hmm.
as some of his other stuff. And like there's stuff that we put in, like we're gonna do after this, by the way, draft of Ghibli movies. There's stuff that I would firmly put in his like elite tier of movies, and for me, it's like Mononoke, Totoro, Spirited Away. Those are all like in a separate plane of existence. But then, like those all have great stories with a ton of juice, obviously just as beautiful as those movies. But like they just have that whole separate level, and I don't think that this movie had that same sort of juice, and it drags a little bit towards the end for sure.
Yeah, unfocused would be the word I would use. Like it's just a little too unfocused, especially in the middle, where he's trying to do a lot. He's trying to tackle a lot of stuff he's tackled in the past and stuff that's very personal to him, but it's almost too many things all at once. And yeah, it's the story is the big thing that's holding it back from entering into that next level.
Mm-hmm. I'm trying to think of what scenes I like the most, and as far as I think any time that they had stuff with the Parakeet King killed me. I really liked the sequence in the fire, like you talked about. There's another scene too where the his mom was like covered with not his mom, his aunt was covered in the flames or the paper,
The papers,
right?
yeah.
That scene was sick. There's a lot of scenes like that where I'm like, how do you even animate something with this many moving parts in a frame? And that's again why it takes so long to do. But like, man, it's such like a crazy work of art to watch to the point where even if you're not like massively engaged with the story, like I think we're kind of falling on with this, you're still like engaged because of everything you're looking at and everything you're hearing, which is just like a testament to how good he is at this genre and how he's like, he is the guy for animation. There is no one else other than Miyazaki.
Yeah, no, I mean, like it's him. He stands alone, and like, which is crazy to say for like the amount of money that gets thrown into animation, especially in the Western world. Like people think animation is like an Eastern thing. Like the West spends 10 times more, if not 100 times more on animation. But Miyazaki he just fucking knows what he's doing. Like he really is just a master. It's unbelievable to watch. And end of his career, if this is his last one, I do think this is a more than fitting send off for him if he does stay retired here. Even if everything doesn't work, I think this is, like I said, the most Miyazaki I think Miyazaki has ever been.
Mm-hmm. I agree. Yeah, I was just trying to find the budget. It's very hard to find budgets for animated movies, especially ones that come from different markets. Um, because I'm very curious to see how much that they spent on it compared to movies like Giant, like whatever, the Minions 12 or whatever.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, this is a movie where I think the worst I can say about it is that, to use your word, unfocused. The best I could say about it is that it's better world building than anything you're going to see this year and beyond. It looks better than any animated film you're going to see this year and beyond, other than maybe Spider-Verse. But it's like with every Miyazaki thing, it's just such a fucking experience that like it's like I would recommend anyone see in theater, because number one, it might just be Miyazaki's last movie, and then you'll only be able to see reruns, and that would stink. And just because like this sort of movie rocks in a theater, like that soundtrack hitting and all of those, again, the Foley work sort of stuff where it's like you just hear like the pitter patter of foots on hardwood, like, and it just sounds so real and so perfectly aligned that you think that's what you're looking at. Like you just feel like you're there. It's just an experience like you can't really replicate anywhere else. So yeah, I really dug. Just to give it a score too, I'd throw an 89 on it, which puts it firmly in like that second tier of Miyazaki for me, below some other ones. But I really liked it. Some problems for sure though.
Yeah, I'm going to land it in 82. I think leaving the theater, I was probably right where you were at, but like the more I think about it, the more I'm just like this. The story is just like you can't move past that, and I think not being accessible to children. I will always have this rule. Like I do think children's movies should be accessible to children. I've criticized Pixar for it, so like Miyazaki doesn't get a pass here either.
Yep, I agree. Just I don't know how to explain it exactly. There's something. I don't know. Maybe more focus means less of the world, though, which is like it's so hard to try and critique Miyazaki like that, where it's like, oh, I want this to change or this to be more lasered in, but like at the same time, like if we got anything less than what we got, I would be more disappointed, because like I would love to watch more of that movie. I think the only critique, by the way, I think I would have is that the ending of this movie, and this happens sometimes with like just Japanese movies in general, very abrupt.
Yes,
where it's just like boom, over. Like it's just like they're in the middle of something, and what they say, they're like 2 years later he moved back to Japan or to Tokyo.
Yeah, that was a little clunky. That was a little clunky.
Sometimes that just happens that way, but that was a little bit. I don't know what the other send off would be, but like when you watch, especially other movies in the animated sphere, like what was the other one you watched recently this year?
Suzume. I just rewatched it too, and it does. It has that kind of ending where it just like it resolves the main conflict, and then it just ends. Like it just titles roll while the ending of the movie's happening. Like
exactly.
Okay. See ya.
Yeah, I'd highly recommend to go watch it anyway. And honestly, it's a movie where you watch and you want to go rewatch every Studio G movies that's ever been made. So, and I think that's a big testament to how great his movies are.
Yeah, we're about to do a draft of this, or I guess like draft ranking, whatever you want to call it. Since there's only two of us.
Let's do draft. Let's make it difficult.
Yeah, I'm looking through like all the Studio G movies, and I'm like, man, I haven't watched this one in a decade. I need to go back, and like, it really does make you want to go back and watch these, because you're like, these are just so good.
Agreed. But yeah, so that's The Boy and the Heron. I would highly recommend anybody go watch it. Well, maybe don't bring your kid to it. They might not totally get it, like we were saying. But I would say that if you're an adult looking for something good to watch, this is that. This is most certainly that. But yeah, should we separate this into a separate draft?
No, we'll just do
two videos.
No, we'll just do one video. We'll just do one video. Make it simple.
Yeah, why not? This is where we'll train a draft. Let me pull up my big board. Okay, so draft of Miyazaki movies. Oh, I'm on the wrong account. That's something. I don't think I hate anything more than I hate our login system for BarstoolSports.com. The dumbest fucking thing on earth. Absolute dumbest. All right, I have my big board up. We'll have you go first, then me go second. The good thing is, like, there really is no wrong answers here. We said 8 picks or 7 picks. Did we say earlier? I forget. 7.
Seven's a good number. We're doing all Ghibli, right? Because I think there's
all Ghibli.
I will start with Mononoke. I've said it. If you've listened to this pod, I've talked about it a million times, but I think it's a perfect movie. 100 out of 100. I think it's probably the greatest animated movie ever made, right there with like Lion King and others. It's you want to talk about something that's focused? That movie is fucking focused, front to back. Knows exactly the themes it wants to talk about: anti-war, environmentalism, and it does it brilliantly. It's beautiful. The voice cast, I stick to the dubs on these. I know people scream and yell about it, but the dubs are, like I said, great here. Billy Crudup, Millie Driver, Gillian Anderson, Billy Bob Thornton, I think all turn in great performances. And it's very rewatchable. Joe, I think he did that. He probably did that soundtrack too, right? Hisashi.
Yeah, he does like everything Miyazaki, man.
Yeah, and that's one of my probably top 3, if not top 1, soundtracks from Ghibli.
Oh yeah, that's a good one too. The animals on that are so fucking good looking. It's crazy.
It's
like
so good.
Like they look insanely cool. Like the Keith David boar.
Yes,
So
gross. Like so gross. Ugh.
Nasty.
Looks like my fucking like grandpa.
Yeah. No, it's pretty violent too. Do you remember I remember the first time I watched it, I was like, you just shot a dude's head off with an arrow. What the fuck? Like,
oh, and that scene that's one of the most well animated like sequences Ghibli's ever done. The arrow like bending. Oh.
Yeah. And that was the first time I used CGI, and they use CGI like better than most people do, like just on the arm with like the corruption thing.
Yeah.
Okay. With Mononoke off the board, I'll start with Spirited Away. I would say probably the most well-known Ghibli movie, other than what my next pick would be. But Spirited Away is definitely a movie that you could watch a million times and pick up like so many different things. Beautifully animated, great voice cast, like we were talking about before, for both the dub and sub. And just an awesome story, and everything about it. It's very tough to find a flaw in Spirited Away. Like you know how we kind of easily picked out at least something from The Boy and the Heron. Very difficult to rewatch Spirited Away and be like, oh, they could have done this there. Oh, maybe this is a little too long. Oh, maybe this is too this. Like, I can't find a flaw. It's beautiful. It's a great story. It's magical. You talk about world building, man. Like every frame in that is just insane. And I love that movie, man. I could rewatch it 1,000 times, no question.
Yeah, no, I think it's by far his most iconic, by far. Just a beautiful fucking movie. Probably his prettiest to look at least most fantastical. I mean, good Lord. I always love when her dad turns into the pig.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think it's obviously horrifying, but it's also like, I don't know, something about it cracks me up.
Michael Chiklis, man, was at least in the dub voice. But yeah, and also a great dub cast again. But yeah, that one's the first one. Then I would do My Neighbor Totoro right after that. Another one where this is definitely one you can watch with your kids, no problem. Very easy one to pick up. Gorgeous to look at. Really cool creature design. Really cool, like sort of like magical little world. And that's something I think I feel like just is missing from recently. A lot of Western animation that isn't like based on an IP, I guess. But this one it's just that world that they give you, especially if I was like a true kid when I watched this first time. I was like a teenager. Man, it's just like it takes you to a whole different place, and it's good story, good lessons, and all that. Just love it. Great movie.
Yeah, no, Totoro is like, if you're looking to show your kids Ghibli, that is the place to start. Like that is the best entryway. Doesn't have as much of the like scary stuff that he sometimes sneaks in there.
Yeah.
And Totoro is just adorable. Like even if your kids don't vibe with the movie, technically, they'll fucking love Totoro. Who doesn't love that?
Oh yeah. A cute ass big fat cat man. Like there's nothing not to love. I think I have Totoro.
Have you ever seen the South Park Totoro reference?
My brother was stationed in Okinawa. He bought me this.
Oh, nice.
Look at that thing. It's adorable.
It is. I mean, he's a cute little cat.
It sits right next to my like Ghibli collection up there. My steel books anyway. But yeah, I'll do My Neighbor Totoro there, and now you have back to back.
I was gonna wait and take them 3, but I'll pair it up with Totoro because if I remember correctly, Totoro and this movie actually premiered together as a double feature. And it is Grave of the Fireflies, which is, if you've seen it, and I'm sure a lot of our listeners have,
back to back.
It's a crazy thing to do. That's still one of the, I don't think it gets talked enough about the fact that they aired Totoro and then Grave of the Fireflies back to back. Because Totoro, like we just said, very accessible to children. Grave of the Fireflies, not as much. It is by far his darkest work. It is very much dealing with World War II. Very personal. But in terms of like sentimental beats and like dramatic stories, that is, I think, as good as it gets. Like, if you want to talk about his most adult movie, Grave of the Fireflies is it.
Yep.
Next
Another
one,
that same period too.
yes. Next one I would go with is I will go Howl's Moving Castle.
Yeah.
I love that movie. It's maybe not his most perfect, and it's also falls into maybe a little unfocused at points, but it's so fucking fun. Like, it's just a fun movie. It almost feels a little Disney, which I don't mean that in a negative light. Like, I mean like fun 90s Disney Renaissance, like adventure. That's what that feels like. You get whisked away and it's so much fun. And like we talked about before, Christian Bale, fantastic.
Yeah.
And who's the girl? She's got a very British voice. What's her name? That British raspy voice. That's going to bother me.
Yes. Let me see. It is
She's super
Emily
British.
Mortimer.
Yes.
Is the young one.
Yes, Emily Mortimer.
Yeah, Lauren Bacall in that, Billy Crystal, Josh Hutcherson.
Oh yeah,
another one.
Yes, he's like 7 years old when he did. I think he was like very young when he did that.
Oh yeah. And Bradley Baker too, voice legend.
Yeah. So yeah, I went. Sorry, Grave of the Fireflies. Good lord.
And Howl's Moving Castle. Okay, I'll do one. It's definitely all more off the beaten path, like not maybe one you initially think of with Studio G, just because the animation style is so much different. With watercolor. The Tale of Princess Kaguya. I love this movie. This is one where you again totally different visually from what you usually expect from Studio G. Definitely way different than any of the ones we picked so far. But man, it's gorgeous. And that and the ending sequence when like the Buddha comes down with like this whole crew of like angelic creatures and stuff. It's one of the like gorgeous things I think I've ever watched on screen from an animated movie. And it's just an awesome story too. It's like a cool retro like lore legend type deal. And it just is beautifully animated. Another great voice cast. Let me pull up the full one for that because that one is Kaguya voice cast. Let's see. Wiki. Make sure I get it right. Nope, not even close. Tale of. We have
that was
Chloe Grace Moretz.
Little CGM action.
Yeah, CGM, Darren Criss, James Caan, Mary Steenburgen, Lucy Liu. Like, it's fucking crazy.
Yeah, that is nuts. That was Takahata too, right? Not.
I believe so. Yeah.
Yeah, that movie is. That's a very interesting movie because, like I said, with Howl's feeling very almost Disney.
Yeah,
Kaguya like almost repels everything Disney was trying to say at that point. With like, I don't want to say they're saying female empowerment's bad, but saying like, well, there is like, if you go against the patriarchy, like there are like challenges to it. Like there are like there's going to be blowback. You can't just be a princess and save the day. Like there's going to be people who want to keep you down. Yeah, no, that's a fucking beauty. That's one where like the real ball knowers, like the critics, really love that movie. Like
the true ball knowers of Miyazaki.
I'm just saying, like
that's there. And then I'll back to back it with Ponyo.
Hell yeah,
Ponyo. I love Ponyo. Love me some Ponyo, dude. Another movie with a great voice cast and but band. This is another one. Beautiful, magical world. Like all like the seaside stuff is gorgeous. And like a great, like another one I would say, other than like My Neighbor Totoro, this actually even more so I think is a great movie to watch like with a kid because like a sense of like wonderment and magic and all that shit is crazy. All this stuff under the sea is amazing. Everything above the sea is great. And the story is like very easy to follow if for a younger audience, and it's just pleasant. It's a very pleasant movie to watch. And again, great as voice cast. Noah Cyrus is in this. That's the one I was missing before. Yeah.
Oh, that's so weird.
Frankie Jonas. Yeah, you might be thinking, who the fuck is Frankie Jonas? And you're right.
That's Frankie.
Uh,
That's I know who Frankie Jonas is.
the fourth Jonas. Tina Fey, Matt Damon, Kate Blanchett, Liam Neeson. Like it's Lily Tomlin, Betty White, Cloris Leachman. Like a lot of different people in this crazy voice cast, and just they're also really good too. But yeah, great story. Love the setting. Love the animation, and as always, music is great. The OG Ponyo song is just awesome. It's very
Yeah,
catchy as well.
that's funny.
You got back to back.
So I'll start with, and this is, you can decline this, but I think this should be acceptable. Nausicaa of the Valley of the
Sure.
Wind.
Yeah.
Technically not Ghibli. It is like pre-Ghibli, but it's a Ghibli movie. Like it is honorary Ghibli. That movie is just so fucking cool. Like in terms of sci-fi elements, like it is so fucking cool. The world building there, like that's like, if you're living in, what is it, 1988 or 89, can't remember when it came out, late 80s. If you're living then and you just see that, you're like, who the fuck is this guy? Miyazaki. Like that fucking movie is so cool. I know he did a graphic novelization of it too, which I've never read, but I heard is amazing. Like it just, the world building there is so cool that I can forgive some of the like, it's also very unfocused at points, but I forgive it because the world building, it's just the big bugs, the flying, the weapons, the girl heroine, like everything you come to know with Ghibli starts there.
Mm-hmm. It looks cool too. Like considering how long ago it was made, it holds up really well, just visually speaking.
Oh yeah. Oh, big time. And then I will go probably could get it later, but I love this movie. It's Whisper of the Heart.
Yeah.
Which is enjoyable for kids, but and it's a little slow for sure, but I just love it. I love the use of country roads, which is like an insane thing to do, is use country roads in a Japanese movie. And they don't even use his version. They use the Olivia Newton-John version, which is crazy. Very cool subject matter. You get a cameo in there, the Ghibli cameo from the cat in the hat or whatever his name is. What's his name?
Yeah, dude, that cat's everywhere.
Yeah, you get a great cameo from him. And like if you like something like Whiplash or anything that's like obsessed artist and like an artist dealing with his art, that's a great movie to watch. Because it really focuses in on that. Very different from like a lot of stuff he likes to explore in other movies. Or I guess that's not his. I don't think that was actually his movie, but Ghibli likes to typically explore.
Studio G. Yeah.
Studio G.
Our
Ghibli.
boys. Okay, Whisper the Heart off the board. I'll do Kiki's Delivery Service.
People are going to be mad that it fell this low.
Yeah, I know. People are obsessed with Kiki. I like Kiki a lot. I just like the other ones a little bit more. But Kiki is, I think, a really good movie. Another cool one, like very interesting, easy to follow concept, great lead, and like kind of a cool world. Like that's sort of like, again, the way he animates like a small town is just like, there's fucking nothing like it. It makes you feel like you're in this like crazy magical world, and that's just kind of, it is what Kiki's is. But man, dude, a cool spin on the world of like a witch, I guess, and just really like it. I really dig Kiki's Delivery Service, and I apologize that it fell so low.
Yeah. I mean, weirdly, and I don't think like Ghibli movies typically like sway like female, male, either direction, but I do think Kiki's is the one where I see more girls gravitate towards Kiki's by far than guys, which is kind of understandable. But yeah, it fell here. What can we say? Just not our favorites. It's not in our top fours or top, I guess, eights.
Yeah, again, still really do like the story and all that, but it's just it's on that next level, at least for me. And I'll back to back it with, and people are gonna be, I guess, pissed that this is the back to back with it, but as much as we shit on it, I really do like Porco Rosso. I really like Porco Rosso, man. It's such an insane sort of conceptual thing, like fascist Italy, sea or air pirates fighting each other in midair with prop planes, and like this man turned into a pig fighting them reluctantly for money, and like it's so stupid. It's so stupid, but that's what makes it awesome. and very lovable. And regardless of how much again we shit on the Michael Keaton voice cast, I do like it. I think it's cool. It's very different. And he has one of the best lines ever. He's like, "I'd rather be a pig than a fascist."
Yeah,
In the
so
movie
great.
theater,
So great.
an awesome line from PR himself. But I just fucking I. There are movies I think in Studio G's catalog that are better than this. For me personally, I just really like Porco Rosso. It's the only one I have here that's in my collection. That's not a steelbook because I couldn't find the steelbook. I weirdly sold out when I went to go buy my collection. So yeah,
Yeah, I mean, dude, he's a fucking pig who hates like that just rules. He's a pilot. He's flying around. He's a bit of a perv, and
big
by
time
bit of a
perf.
perv, I mean like shit probably wouldn't fly today at all. There's a few things he says that are like definitely like, oh, this is
I will
from.
say, by Japanese animated standards, he's basically a saint.
Yeah, that's fair. That's very fair.
Yeah,
Miyazaki. Miyazaki. By the way, Miyazaki. We haven't brought it up, but Miyazaki just hating anime.
yeah,
It's so funny. Like he's such an interesting person. Like he really is.
fascinating cat.
Like he just outwardly hates the world, and then just makes these like charming little moves. I guess not little, but like just magical, bright colored, like
Yep,
lovely to look at.
whimsical movies, and he's just the crankiest old man.
Anime was a mistake.
Yeah,
I'll always crack up with that screen cap.
your last two.
I'll go Whisper of the Heart, or not Whisper of the Heart.
You
Sorry,
already got
I'm
that.
looking at my board right now. The Wind Rises, 2013 or 2011.
Sneaky good one.
Yeah, and one that I guess was supposed to be his last film. It would have made a lot of sense for it to be his last film because it is like him just reflecting on an artist's career, and obviously, again, it's very personal. His dad being an aircraft, he made aircraft parts during the war, and he's obsessed. Like Miyazaki hates war, but then he's obsessed with these fucking planes. Like, like I said, he's just a very interesting, like split kind of guy. Like
Complicated dude.
yes, and this is a very different kind of animated movie, like a biopic animated feature. I can't think of another one. Can you?
Not like that. Not in this, especially in this case. It's like a full biopic on the guy that made the Zero, the plane that was used by Japan to bomb Pearl Harbor. Like it's bizarre in concept. Like it's something that's like identified with like a relatively evil empire, and yet at the same time I watch it, I'm like, oh, it's pretty whimsy. Like fucking, it's like watching if it was like a German version of like them making like the Stuka bomber or something. Like it's just like it shouldn't work in any way, but it just kind of does. I don't know why.
Yeah, no, I'm trying to figure out my next pick right now because now I'm looking through and these are the movies that it's like haven't watched this in a long time. I'll take the Yamadas.
Yeah,
I remember being very charmed by that. Which is again very different. It's like a series of almost short, I guess. What would you call them? Vignettes.
Yeah.
And a very different animation style as well. But again, just beautiful to look at, charming, very slice of life. And yeah, almost it's like I said, the animation is really what carried it here. Like it's almost like a comic strip, like a newspaper comic strip. Looking at it, which is just very fascinating to see come to life.
Which is similar to like Kaguya, where it's just like totally different, like departure from what we're used to seeing with them, which is cool.
Yeah, because it's like when you think of like Pixar or Illumination, like you know what a Pixar movie is going to look like for the most part. Like they haven't, like, since Toy Story, they've just done 3D animation and it gets better. Like they've improved on that 3D animation, but they've never like parted ways and decided to do 2D or like watercolor or blending, like something like Spider-Verse, blending a million different styles together. Like the fact that Ghibli does do this kind of stuff is like just a testament to why they are so respected.
Exactly. My Neighbor the Yamada is your last pick. My last one, I'll do From Up on Poppy Hill. Again, a darker one from the mind of Miyazaki, but From Up on Poppy Hill is really good. Very, again, sad material. I would say for the most part, But a movie that's really good, really well. Again, I feel like it's bad. It's bad that we have to like repeat the same praise over and over and over again for like for his movies. But like it is kind of just a common theme. Like he's always good at animation. He's always good at sound. He's always good at like the voice casts are always good. But from Up on Poppy Hill, I really liked it. Really interesting. Set in that same time period that again we've been talking about. It. Most of these movies are that sort of. I guess pre-war, sort of pre-war, sort of post-war Japan. But really good movie. Really, really enjoyed it. And one where I think more people would like it if they watch it, but it's not one that like sticks out from his normal catalog or from Studio G's normal catalog. You know what I mean? Like you want to watch A Spirited Away or My Neighbor Totoro or Mononoke or whatever, Ponyo, whatever else. You don't really necessarily go through like I guess it's all on HBO, but you don't go on HBO and be like, oh, I gotta pop on from Up on Poppy Hill or like Grave of the Fireflies. Like I don't gotta go pop this one on. Like you want to watch the nice ones.
That's the issue. His like top like 5 or 6 or their top 5 or 6 are just so fucking incredibly rewatchable because you can pick out new things you love every time that sometimes you don't really feel like getting back to this back into the catalog, even though it is good to great, like the whole way through. That top tier is so good that it's tough to justify spending your time elsewhere.
Yeah.
And I do have one more pick. I didn't get my 7th.
No, that was your last one. You went first. No, and last. You had back to back.
I missed writing one of these down then.
I have you for Mononoke, Grave of the Fireflies, Howl's Moving Castle.
I forgot to write down Howl's. Yeah, that's the issue.
Nausicaa,
Whisper, Wind Rises, Yamadas.
Wind Rises, and My Neighbor the Yamadas. For me, I have Spirited Away, My Neighbor Totoro, Tale of Princess Kaguya, Ponyo, Kiki, Porco Rosso, and From Up on Poppy Hill. And I will say, we do have, I believe, 7 options left. I think we should make a phantom third member and give them all of Goro shit in the other movies that we didn't pick.
How many Goro movies could there possibly be?
There's like 2 on here, but like it's Pompoko and Earwig and the Witch. But like, we still have Only Yesterday, good movies too. The rest of these, but Only Yesterday, Castle in the Sky, when Marnie was there.
Marnie's great.
Secret World of Arietti. I'm like, I don't know, something missing there. Ocean Waves, The Cat Returns. I like.
Cat Returns
Tales
is
of
fun.
Mercy. Yeah, I say we give this Phantom third member, and we could just make it Jeff and make him the third member and give him all.
Oh, it's too cruel.
Who should we give it to? We should pretend. Should we pretend Portnoy was on this episode?
Nah, I don't want to piss him off. We'll say.
What do you think? Let's say maybe not Clemmer. Who's someone?
Kirk Minahan.
Definitely not. Let's say Earwig and the Witch on this. Let's move Only Yesterday.
Jake Malasek.
That would actually be really funny. I'm trying to think who would be the funniest random person to throw that would play ball with it, like by Feidelberg.
Fights would actually play along with it. Probably
Marty Mush. Nobody would understand. That would be very funny.
People would just be like bad at Marty.
Yeah. Tommy Smokes.
Yeah,
I kind of like Tommy Smokes.
Yeah.
All right, so Tommy Smokes' team is Tales from Earthsea, Castle in the Sky, When Marnie Was There, The Secret World of Arietti, The Cat Returns, Pompoko, and Earwig and the Witch.
What a fucking idiot.
Yeah, what a dummy. In fact, I'm going to move these around so the good ones are at the bottom and the shitty ones are at the top. How about that?
So it kind of looks more believable.
So he's going to have from top to bottom Tales from Earthsea, Pompoko, Earwig and the Witch. Yeah, no, reversing it. So it's almost less believable, but to the point, but Tommy won't know that. He's just going to be like, oh, what does this mean? All right. So good draft. Good to talk about some action from Studio G. And we'll talk about more movies. Yeah, obviously we're hitting into the season where like all the big Oscar contenders are coming out. So when we get the next big one comes out, we'll go review that as well.
Yeah, we're doing, I want to do Poor Things with Kelly Keegs is my goal.
That'd be fun. Yeah.
Yeah, she's a big Yorgos person, and that movie that might end up being her favorite movie ever, is all I'm going to say.
Excited for that one. And yeah, now we both get to have fun and go back to editing. I go back to the whole to edit the bracket, which is fun. Or start it.
Yeah.
But yeah, well, we'll see you guys next time we have a movie review.